It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Did you think I was talking about Christmas? Well, guess what? You are wrong, because it is September and that means it is hashtag NaNoPrep time. I got you good, didn't I? Salutations! Welcome to Learning the Language of Literacy. My name is Sophia Lee, and today I'm here to give you my top 7 tips for winning NaNoWriMo before you actually start. I'm coming to you as basically how all writers are. Hair not brushed, no makeup on, and pajamas. I have absolutely no shame. If you don't know, the challenge is to write 50,000 words in 30 days, and if you think that is hard, wait until you try it. If you don't want to do the math, that basically means you have to write at minimum 1,667 words every single day in the month of November to end up with a 50,000 word novel. If you know anything about word count and page number, you probably are aware, but 50,000 words only equates to around a standard 200-page young adult novel. However, if you're going to start fretting, 50,000 words is not your limit. You can most certainly write more. If you are not familiar with NaNoPrep, it can be any time of the year, but mostly the hashtag is used in the months of September and October leading up to the grand event. Obviously, there is Camp NaNoWriMo held in both April and July if you want to do those midway through the year or if you want to revise. But NaNoWriMo is the huge deal that most writers will attempt to accomplish. Personally, I don't know why, because November is like one of the most inconvenient months there possibly could be. Of course, I think there's all the alliteration. Authors love that. It's not actually about the 50,000 words. 50,000 is a completely arbitrary but attainable number that you can reach. Let's just get into the tips. Number 1, go into it having some idea of what you're doing. This was my biggest mistake last year because I didn't have a finished outline. I don't care if you're a pantser who goes into it on day 1 not having any idea. But my advice to you is have some sort of roadmap. NaNoWriMo is a journey that you're embarking on, and if you don't have some sense of directions or some destination in the very least, you will have no idea what to do. A year ago, if you would ask me, I would tell you that I hated outlines, but I've actually come to love them, to love the complexity or the informality of them. If you are a pantser, just jot some things down, character descriptions, some events that are going to happen, because the worst thing that can happen is wanting to write, having the time, having the motivation, but not knowing what to actually write. I would suggest write down just a couple of scenes you can turn to when you have no idea what to do, but you want to do a word sprint, because they will help you, and those might be the difference between giving up on NaNoWriMo and not. Because if you have no direction and you have no idea where you're headed, who's to say that you're going to keep going? Tip number 2, take advantage of the social aspects. Obviously, we're writers. 90% of us are introverts that don't like associating with people outside of the internet. But NaNoWriMo is a chance for those introverts to make friends, to reach out to people, to be writing buddies, to be wordsmith partners, and to have fun comparing daily word count and doing word sprints. And it is a completely social event to gripe about your novel, to ramble about your novel, because these people during this time of the year will actually listen to you. Today alone and over the weekend, I've talked to probably 10 people on Twitter that I never would have discovered or known about otherwise, and I highly suggest to hang out in the NaNoWriMo forums, to talk to people on Twitter. Anyone with the right motivation can just sit down one month and say that they're going to write 50,000 words, but how often is it that you can have thousands of people at your disposal who are doing the exact same thing, who would probably love to help you? My third tip is to find your why. This actually can relate to any spectrum of life. I learned this tip when I was in running camp. When you're in the depths of despair, when you're in that darkest moment, that moment that you know that all characters will come back with twice the fire, you have got to know why you're coming back and what you're coming back for. If you're just doing this for another person, if you're doing this for the bragging rights, that's not the motivation you should have. You need to reach down inside of you and have whatever the reason, whatever the purpose it is, inside of you that you can reach into and pull out. 1667 is a hard goal to attain and to be consistent with. If you don't know why you're doing this, if you don't know why you're saying no to Netflix or hanging out with friends or any other hobbies that you might have, then you're not going to follow through. Whether it's something to check off of your bucket list, or if it's for the fact that you want to be a published New York Times bestselling author, you have to know why. Tip number 4. Keep your senses aware. I can't tell you how much you're going to learn and basically have details for your novel handed to you on a silver platter if you just keep your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and fingers for touch open. You get where I'm coming with this. For this year's NaNoWriMo, I actually came up with the premise while I was at a summer camp for biomedical engineering, because you find things in the least likely of places, whether it's just snippets of conversation, whether it's the odor of your neighbor's sewage line that broke apart, which I feel much sympathy for you about, whether it's an annoying creak on your steps that you trigger every single time you have to get to your room. Whatever it is, you can just keep your senses aware and open, and you will find just a fount of inspiration and just detail, because that is really what makes the story. Anyone can say that there's this girl who has this goal, who wants to do this thing, but when you have a name, when you have a story, when you have what their favorite thing to eat for breakfast is, when you have what their greatest fear is, that is when you truly start having characters. My fifth tip is that the finish line is your only priority. My best guess is that authors are famous for being obsessive. They want the perfect word choice, they want the perfect character. First of all, perfection is unattainable and you should stop right now. Second of all, perfection is doubly unattainable during NaNoWriMo, because the whole point of NaNoWriMo is for a draft. It's not to have something neat and polished and pretty to give to someone to read. The point is to have something for you that you can go back in December and revise, because your goal is to get as many words on paper as you can and just to have this whole month of spewing out things, because I guarantee you, you will never get anything done if you write something, go back and edit, write a little more, go back and edit, because the best things come when you just go and unleash the story that you've probably been wanting to write for a very long time. Everyone else's NaNoWriMo drafts are going to be just as messy as yours, with no punctuation, no grammar to speak of, no dialogue tags. Tip number 6, words are just placeholders for other words. I know some authors said this much more eloquently somewhere out there on the internet, but I don't remember and I don't recall at the moment. Anything you write can be revised, can be edited, and can be improved upon. Even if it's the crappiest sentence ever, and today I just wrote something and I'm like, thank God this is a first draft, because I would never want anyone to hear me say this. It was basically along the lines of, you weren't supposed to see that. But the point is, as long as you have the idea of what you want to say, you can go back later and revise it. Something I struggle with when writing are names. I have to have the perfect name in order to keep on writing. But the truth of the matter is that you cannot stop and go to your favorite baby name website every time you have a new side character coming into play. You have to just jot something down, and you can always go back and replace it. You can replace all the swear words, all the simple adjectives, and anything that you want. Those aren't going to be permanent, most likely, and that they are just placeholders for what is to come and what is better. Don't say it's trash, say it is a foundation. And my last tip is decide on what you want out of NaNoWriMo. Is it to make more writing friends? Is it to finish a draft? Is it to finish your story? Whatever it is, you have to know what your goal is, and you have to hold fast to it so you can resist the temptations that will most definitely come your way during the month, because eating Thanksgiving turkey is a lot more fun than writing a novel. Decide how much effort you want to put into this, decide how much time you're going to put away for it, decide what you're going to give up just for the month of November to achieve this, and decide how bad you want it. And I guarantee you can reach 50,000 words. Tip number 7.5. Consider reverse NaNoWriMo. I did this last year and it was completely life-changing for me as a first-time Rimo. The premise of them is to write way more than the 67 words on the first day, and to end NaNoWriMo only writing one word. Obviously, you could finish on day 29 if you only had one word left, but that's the gist. You start off with some number that's like 3,700 or something, but the good part of it is that as the month goes through, normally you get drained, you get tired, but if you put in all that effort in the very beginning, you will naturally just lose steam, but you'll lose steam as well as the amount of words you're supposed to write every day. I found this worked wonders. I actually wrote 5,000 words on purpose on my first day in NaNoWriMo, and I do not regret it whatsoever, and I would highly recommend using this tactic. To give you a little bit of history about myself, I actually participated for the very first time in NaNoWriMo last November, and I won with 50,000 words. Those 50,000 words I wrote did not, in any stretch of the imagination, equate to a finished story. There's still so much to be done if I ever want to revive that draft. However, I do know that you don't have to finish your actual story to know what it takes to win NaNoWriMo, because that is your goal. I read something about in years past, only around 20% of the people who sign up, commit to the website, actually reach their goal of 50,000 words. 20% is a terrible number, considering how many people there are that are avid writers and readers and people that want to get published and have their name out there. The genre of young adult fiction, which is the main focus on loving the language of literacy, has been given so much just crap throughout the years because of its quality and because of its content. But when you think about it, are the people criticizing these authors actually able themselves to write and produce these novels? Because any novel, no matter how bad, no matter how crappy, is better than no novel at all. And NaNoWriMo is not to be polished, it's not to be perfect. That's actually not the goal. I need to stay away from perfectionism altogether. And if your inner editor ever tries to come up, you have to squash them immediately. Anyways, tell me in the comments below if you're planning on participating in NaNoWriMo, what has helped you in the past, what kind of outliner you are, if you're a pantser or a plotter, what's your NaNoWriMo survival guide, what are your tips for prepping for NaNoWriMo, what is your buddy name? I would love to become friends on the NaNoWriMo website. I am SL Loves Books. Thank you so much for watching. Keep calm, read on, and I'll see you in a video soon. Goodbye! If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and leave me a comment below. And if you would like to see more, just like it, hit the subscribe button. All my social media is around my face at SL Loves Books, and my previous videos are below me.